Hi guys, I'm Mahek. I'm from Minds Over Mirrors, which is working to spread awareness about body dysmorphia and eating disorders. Today we are interviewing Ms.Calle to get a mental health perspective from a professional.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Ms.Calle. I'm the school social worker here at Mercer County Technical Schools. A little bit about myself. I have a social work degree, a master's degree. I've been in the field for over 10 years. I've been in education for the past 7 years as a school social worker. My role here, or any school that I've been in, really varies from district to district. However, I do focus a lot on the social emotional part in regards of trying to maintain the academics, because both of them are very important, and there are different topics or barriers or trends that do come up that I've seen in the past 10 years among teenagers or youth or in children.
Okay, you ready to start?
Yes.
So first question, in your clinical experience, have you noticed a shift in the age of severity of eating disorders in teens over the past 5 to 10 years?
So I think that the shift that I have seen is just the topic, like when it starts. So I've seen a lot. So I am right now currently at a high school level, but I have had a lot of experience working at elementary. So I have had kids as young as like first grade talking about the way they look, what to eat, calories, in regards of that. So that has been brought up, I think, a lot sooner compared to when I first started in the field, where it's so much I didn't really see that until like about middle school age group, but now I do see it a lot earlier on in elementary school.
All right, thank you. Our second question is, are there any particular trends that seem to be especially vulnerable right now?
I think that a big shift is with like social media access. I think that's a big trend. So I'm not against social media. You know, I think it's great access and we learn a lot of things. There's good and bad things, I think, in every platform, to be honest with you. But I do think that social media is easier to almost like shift what we want to see, or what, you know, our influencers or even ourselves are showing. So I definitely see that shift in regards of like what it's supposed to look like, and compared to before was more I think inclusivity. A lot of people weren't focusing so much on like the diet culture, or it was called different names. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Before it's more of like it's a diet, now it's more of like different names for what makes it look a lot better in a sense, but we're still kind of falling back again to the trend of like you can't do this and you can't do that. And I think it does create a little bit of a different like negative perspective towards food, diet, and just like body positivity.
I definitely agree. Our third question is, do teens today present differently with eating disorders compared to pre-social media generations?
So I definitely grew up with no social media. I think it's easier just to get stuck like an algorithm. Like you get stuck if I look up something positive, my timeline will be all positive things, right? If I get stuck on something that maybe it's not the best, but it makes sense to me, I kind of get all that information given to me. It almost feels normal. This is what everyone else is looking at. So I do think that we have a lot more access to all this information a lot more quicker, but I do think it has always been just an issue or a barrier amongst just like everybody, right? And I think a lot of times when it comes to like body dysmorphic disorder and eating or body positivity, majority of it has always been focused on women or girls, but I do see that a lot different. I do see that a lot like in also males or boys, but it looks different, right? Like I think a lot of times I think about it more like the bodybuilding community, right? Like if we really look into it and what that looks like, it's a lot of restraining with food and diet, but we make it in a positive thing because we're looking at this ideal body, right? So I think it's always been there, but I just think we are able to shift it, something that isn't so healthy, more in a positive way, because media is easy to control.
Yeah, what you said kind of dips into our fourth question, what was, how does algorithm-driven content, like For You pages, and stuff like that on TikTok, intensify body comparison among teens?
So kind of similar to what I had just mentioned before, I think that when we look for something, it just gets stuck on our timeline, right? Like it doesn't even have to be about this. Like if you click on one video about dogs, right, you're gonna get like 10 other videos about dogs. And in a sense, like you just keep feeding that same information back to yourself, and it almost becomes like, in your perspective, like, okay, well, if everyone's doing it, right? Like, I think that's what it kind of comes down to be, because this is what I'm seeing on my timeline or my page or your For You page. So I think that definitely is a big factor, and it does affect whatever you're looking for, and vice versa, right? Like if you look at other stuff where it's more like it's inclusive and you can do X, Y, and Z, you also get that. So I definitely think that like it does make a big difference as to what content you're looking at.
Have you seen specific platforms that influence the type of body image concerns teens express?
I think like every platform has an influence amongst teenagers in general. Again, it can be positive or negative. I think social media, you can make it however you want, right? And I think majority of the times, most people, including myself, will always post the positive parts of our lives and not so much the negative. And you're able to just like tweak and move around to make either like the way you look, what you're eating, where you're going, to make it look a lot more glamorous than it really is.
Yeah. And our last question is, in what ways does wellness culture or clean eating online blur the line between healthy habits and disordered behaviors?
That's definitely a tough one. I think that it comes down to being realistic within yourself, right? And I think that's really hard to do just for anybody, not just teenagers, where it's like, okay, like, is this really healthy, or that I'm watching like on, you know, on this page, or is it just I like to call it like a co-signing my unhealthy behavior, right? Because if I do something and you know it's not right, but then you come and do it with me, now it's okay, because it's two of us, it's not just me by myself. So I definitely think that though, like if it is something that you're unsure of, or it makes you feel in a way like maybe I shouldn't be doing that, then maybe we need to kind of sit back and ask for help or talk to a trusted adult to see like what's going on. There's nothing wrong with healthy eating, you know, or having a specific, like, I guess, diet per se. It becomes different. Like my big thing is like if it affects your day-to-day life, that's always my biggest thing. So I can eat vegetables all day, and maybe tomorrow I decide to eat a piece of cake. But if I then sit there and go, oh my God, I'm eating this piece of cake, what am I gonna do? I have so many calories, etc. Then that becomes an unhealthy behavior, right? Because one day of, let's say, like bad eating or unhealthy eating, what we call it, is not gonna change anything within yourself. So if it's those thoughts that affect your day-to-day life, that it becomes more like a red flag, and we need to work on that, how to get support and help.
Right, that was very insightful. Thank you so much. So that is the end of our interview with Ms.Calle. Thank you.
Of course, you're very welcome.